Welcome to the Hot Shit Review, my newest series. A series where I take my hot takes about new shit and popular shit and combine it with horrible quality camera. Unscripted and only one viewing. Alright, so today we're talking about Avengers Endgame, the movie that everybody's talking about. The only thing anyone's talking about right now, including, Game of Thrones. But let's be honest, Game of Thrones is going kind of bad. Okay, so over here at the side, wherever that is, there's going to be sort of the review, no spoilers, timestamp for the spoiler review, and then a timestamp after that where I think it'll be fun to just discuss the MCU, where we think we're going to be going after this. So let's just get into it. Do it good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's there has been pretty unanimous praise for this movie, but there have been people giving a little nitpicks here and there, and I'm gonna be giving mine a little bit later. But yeah, it's a pretty fucking good movie. Okay, the ending is very satisfying. It really feels like it wraps up the entire MCU universe, and to be honest, I'm kind of worried about the MCU's viability going forward in the future, because this is it. Like, I feel like I don't need any more. That's it. This is the end. If I walk away not seeing a single superhero movie again, I'm fine with that. It does a lot of good things with a lot of kind of poetic endings to character storylines that we've been seeing for a long time. I'm not going to mention whose storylines get wrapped up because that's part of the spoiler part. By the way, the fights at the end. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, yeah. Those fights are fucking phenomenal. It really does show the grandest scale a superhero movie we've seen done yet. Well, I guess Infinity War did a little bit more crazy stuff. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It's hard to top throwing a fucking planet at someone. Holy shit. But it really does tie in everybody in here. And although some people didn't really get as much to do, you could definitely see a chaotic war going on. It really does encapsulate this huge spectacle that we haven't really seen in many Marvel movies, to be honest. If you ask me, the last act of Marvel movies is usually the shittiest act, and this is because just CGI fights, to be honest. But in this case, I didn't really find it too cumbersome, the CGI. You could definitely still tell it's CGI, and that's with any big blockbuster movie. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. Another thing that this movie did well was it made me appreciate the other movies a little bit more. So, for instance, if we look at the first Avengers movie, or I don't know, even Guardians of the Galaxy 1, other movies, I want to go back and watch those again because of this movie. Even shittier movies like Thor: The Dark World. I don't even remember what happened in that one, but whatever, you definitely want to watch more. You want to watch the bad Marvel movies again before going into this, because I'm not going to spoil which ones make an impact on the story of this movie, but a couple of them do. Don't watch the Hulk again, though. That one doesn't. Sorry, spoiler, I guess. Ooh, spoiler. The Hulk isn't that movie is ass, and they want to forget about it. I want to forget about it. Fuck, I like Edward Norton and I want to forget about it. Not only does it make me appreciate the movies that I didn't really appreciate before, but it also makes me appreciate some of the characters that I never really appreciated before. So we're talking Hawkeye and Black Widow specifically. Those guys get a significant amount of screen time. And I'm actually pretty happy about that because, to be honest, I've never been one that cared at all about Hawkeye or Black Widow. They've just kind of seemed like the side characters, which is kind of funny because they don't have any powers or anything. You'd think they'd give the side characters really cool powers, but I don't know. Some guy at Marvel was just yeah, let's just put two shit characters in to to really drive home that these guys are the best. That's what they kind of felt like to me at the beginning, at least. And even Ant-Man was surprisingly useful. I'm not a big fan of Ant-Man, but after this movie, I felt like he was, someone that I could really get into if the movies were better. I mean, if they got Edgar Wright to actually make his movies, that would be. That's what I can say about the good stuff without really spoiling the movie. So before I get into the actual spoilers, let's just talk about a little bit about the bad stuff that isn't spoilery first. So as you might have heard, the beginning drags on quite a bit. The beginning, it's very long, very depressing. To no one's surprise, it starts off right after that snap, and it soaks in it. It bathes in that. People might not want to dwell on this for as long as they did, and I understand why they did it. It's just kind of, I don't know, after 20 minutes, it gets really grating, As much as I like what they did with Black Widow and Hawkeye, I have the inverse of that with Thor, in that I did not like Thor in this movie. There was a running joke with him that seemed to be his entire character arc for the entire movie, and it just kind of gets old very, very quickly. Not good stuff. Not a big fan of it. Real garbage. Right there. It just kind of feels like a big fuck you to Thor fans. Another character I didn't like was Captain Marvel. Now, I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, the movie. I don't know, maybe it's good, maybe it isn't. I didn't see Captain Marvel. Don't hate me for this because, I don't know. I don't watch most of these movies when they come out. I watch them, on Netflix later on when I don't really have to pay for it individually. So I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. And her in this movie, I don't know if she's likable in her own movie. From what I hear, she's not. But in this movie, she kind of just seems like an asshole, to be honest. She's shoved in for no reason. She shows up in this movie, no reason. If you go into this thinking oh my god, Captain Marvel's my favorite character, I highly doubt that. Captain Marvel's my favorite character, and I want to see her do all this stuff. No, she's not going to do any of this stuff, which I think is the movie's benefit, because she hasn't really been set up. The thing about this movie that I really like is, and this is another thing I want to touch on, is that it takes a lot of things that have been set up and established throughout the universe, especially from the very beginning, and it really reimagines those and brings them back and just gives it to us in a really good way. Now, this is a movie with a lot of fan service. Some people didn't like that. I really appreciated it, and I feel like it's a really rewarding experience for the hardcore fans, unlike myself. But even then, I could appreciate a lot of what they did there. On to spoilers. We're spoiling things now. If you don't like spoilers, get the fuck out. All right, so the first thing I want to touch on is Hawkeye and Black Widow that we were talking about earlier. Now, Hawkeye goes full anime in this. I mean, they looked at him and they're like, damn, Hawkeye fucking sucks. Hawkeye is a shit character. And I was like, yeah, you're right. He is a pretty shit character. And they kind of just changed him up. He went from essentially Joe Rogan, because okay, let's be honest. Everyone in these movies, they're all funny guys. Funny, they make the quip and funny guy, right? So Ant-Man's a funny guy. He has this family in the middle of, Wyoming or some shit, but it's kind of like a country farm, but not really. And he does bow stuff. It's fucking Joe Rogan, okay? But he goes from Joe Rogan to, I don't know, fucking Edge McMaster over here, just this fucking anime protagonist, this dark Punisher-esque character. And I mean, they even put him in fucking Tokyo. It's great. I love it. It's what they did with this character is they made him an edge boy and appeals to me, other edge boys like myself. And Black Widow, this is the first time I've cared about Black Widow, and it really does do something where she turns from, this I'm the girl Avenger, and I sometimes feel things about the guy Avengers to like a really well-rounded character. Like this stuff was present in the character before, but it wasn't really, it wasn't as present. So I really like that, These two characters definitely carry the middle part of the movie, which some people like the middle part of movies, some people didn't. I personally like the whole time heist stuff. I thought it was really fun and really cool how they went back into these other areas of the movies, other timelines. So that was pretty cool. And I'm very happy with what they did with those two. Not for any narrative purpose. Well, actually, for Black Widow narrative purpose. Hawkeye is just because I for the first time in ever, I'm like, yeah, he's pretty fucking cool. I mean, he's not a superhero, but he's pretty cool. Another thing, so the other place they go back to is Thor's place, and this is like the most nothing thing. I mean, it's Thor the Dark World. I mean, there's nothing there anyways. But like, they go back to this place. He has a little sad chat with his mom. He's mommy's boy, whatever. And Rocket sodomizes Natalie Portman. Yeah. I mean, they don't do it on screen, but they heavily imply it. Like, he goes to do it, and then they have the stone. So, it obviously did happen. Like, this isn't... We all know that this happened. So, Thanos dies. And I don't know how to feel about that. So, I knew Thanos was going to die coming into this movie. And the thing is, he dies in the first, 5 minutes. And then... Even then, he's still sort of just this sad, depressing guy. I like that scene with him. However, they kind of just Thor he's I'm big man, I'm angry man, and fucking slices his head off, chops it off. And I mean, that's sad. And because Thanos never really got his own, he didn't get his final words. He didn't get to give us this epic monologue or anything like he did in the other movies. He was so quotable in Infinity War. He was so quotable, and I feel like that's just not present in this movie. I don't know. In those 5 years in between that time skip, and I don't know, I guess it's 9 years. That 9-year gap, Thanos became I guess a little bit of 4-year gap. Anyways, Thanos became this I don't know, fucking motivational speaker. Because the Thanos in the past is just not doing it. He's not a very well-spoken dude compared to the new Thanos, which is our old Thanos. Ooh, time stuff. So yeah, and that's the thing. He dies twice in this movie and doesn't get really final words other than "I am inevitable," which isn't really. It's not a very, I don't know, impactful sentence. But he dies twice, and that's all he gets. I really wish that they could have done better with him. That's about it for Thanos. Here's another gripe with Captain Marvel. What she did in the end battle, she didn't really seem like she needed to be there, but I guess she did. I was fine with her destroying the ship and everything. That was all right. But there's the shot with all the girls. Now, I'm going to be honest, right? I don't have anything with the shot on a conceptual level other than that it broke my immersion because it just seems so implausible that all of the women superheroes and sidekicks and whatever would just all be in the exact same position in this massive battle, and that they would all band together at the same time. By the way, most of them don't know each other, and they're like, yeah, we're teaming up. And I was just kind of like, okay, how did this happen? But whatever. Yeah, that was just, I didn't like that scene. Whatever. That really, I don't know, for a movie about, a big purple dude who throws planets fighting, cybernetic superpowered people and mutant people and shit, it really tested my suspension of disbelief. Yeah. Okay, honestly speaking, it's probably setting up or hinting at something that might come later on I'll talk about that in the MCU after this section. So there's this passing the torch scene as well with Captain America and the Falcon, Sam Wilson, which had been done in the comics, so I saw this coming a mile away. I knew this was going to happen. From what I can tell, that they're getting like their own TV show, so I don't know how that's going to work out. I thought they were going to be doing more Captain America movies, but whatever. Anyways, that was a pretty good scene. It was really effective. The way that he shows up as old Steve Rogers and just like, oh, here's the shield, and the guy, and he's just like, oh, dude, dope. I don't want it, but like, dope, you know. I mean, he doesn't really have a need for his shield. I mean, he's already like this armor dude who has like these wings that come in and protect him, but I don't know, I guess he has a shield now too, so he can double protect himself. He takes negative damage, you know. He gains health when people attack him. That's how that works. But aside from that, that scene was really when that ending scene with Steve Rogers was a really great scene. And it really ties together his character in the perfect way, to be honest, as perfectly as it can be. And people were weeping in the theater. Like, there was audible crying going on all around us, and I don't know, that's how you can tell that this movie was good. I mean, like, I guess Force Awakens had people crying, but like, this is a different crying. This is like a crying that was earned, and it's really good. However, I don't feel like this should have been the ending scene. Personally, I think that the actual ending, the last scene, should have been with Iron Man's funeral, Tony Stark's funeral, because the way that the story was opened was with Iron Man, and I would have liked to have seen Iron Man be the final thing that we see in the Infinity Saga. The Infinity Saga is the story of Iron Man, and you know, to have it end with Steve Rogers, who came out like, you know, a couple movies after him, is like, I don't know, it's a little weird. But not only that, it's just that scene with Iron Man. Oh boy, that felt like the ending. I watched that scene, and then when another scene, and when a shot came out after that scene, when there was another shot after that scene, I just felt, what? Why? That's the perfect ending, and I felt like that as I was watching it. The proof that Tony Stark has a heart should have been the final shot to bookend this entire saga, because the way that it works is, you know, originally Tony Stark was like this heartless, you know, money grubbing dude, the billionaire, and at the end it's, you know, proof that he has a heart. Which, I mean, I guess they already did with the Iron Man series, but it just would have really drove it home, especially with everybody, you know, there at the funeral. I also, I feel like it would have been cooler to have, like, you know, just everybody. I mean, like, masses of people as well around, just like the entire world is grieving for this one guy. But I don't know. It was still pretty well done, and that is about the best I could see a superhero movie, especially of this caliber, ending. I mean, I feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy 2's ending was a little stronger on the emotional front, but this is pretty good too. And that's it for the spoiler review. On to the MCU after this. So, what do we do now? What are we gonna do? Well, okay, let's look at what we have going right now in the MCU. Before we get into all the other heroes, I just want to say that theme that we got earlier with like all the women teaming up and woohoo women power in the big battle, I feel like that may have been hinting at a cinematic version of this group called the A-Force. Now, A-Force was pretty short-lived because I don't think anybody really paid attention to it or read it. I don't think like it was popular at all. Essentially, what A-Force is like, there's a bunch of women, but like nobody really knows any of the characters aside from like She-Hulk and Captain Marvel. Actually, was there anybody else? All right, let me look at this. So, A-Force. Yeah, the only well, I guess there's Medusa. Okay, so yeah, there's also Medusa from the Inhumans, who I am a big fan of. Sadly, don't watch that TV show. I mean, I didn't even watch it. I mean, I just looked at I looked at the trailer and went, that's sad. And yeah. If you do want to get into the Inhumans, though, read the 1990 something version by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. It's a good series. Anyways, so part of A-Force, there isn't really, like, aside from She-Hulk and, Captain Marvel, there isn't really any characters that anybody cares about, to be honest. Which I would love to see She-Hulk in a movie, by the way. She-Hulk I'm gonna convince you guys about She-Hulk. She-Hulk is the best fucking character. She's amazing. She has the Hulk powers, right? But she doesn't have to get angry to be the Hulk, kind of like the Hulk in this movie. Her whole character is like Deadpool, but she's Deadpool before Deadpool, and she's even more Deadpool. Like, she is the master of the fourth wall. And even, like, Deadpool today is way different from when he was introduced. Like, he was still a comedic character, but, like, he wasn't the super meme man. She-Hulk was. She-Hulk was, like, the blueprint for Deadpool. And she kind of made fun of all the tropes of, like, women in comics. Like, all the, like, really dumb shit where it's, like, just like, this over-sexualization and all that stuff. She's a great character, okay? I would love to see a movie about her. If they can't get Deadpool into the MCU, just make She-Hulk. That's all you gotta do. Yeah, anyways, they might be alluding to A-Force. I don't think anybody will really care about the A-Force, but then again, I don't think it'd be anything like A-Force in the comics anyways, so whatever. So we have Doctor Strange. Let me just look at this fucking list down here. Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man and Wasp, Black Panther, Thor, and apparently the Eternal. Well, Thor maybe. There's a little asterisk there because whatever. The Eternals apparently maybe getting a movie, and some dude named Shang-Chi. Also you got okay. I've never heard of this dude, but whatever. Also, you got to think of Adam Warlock, who is a character that's been set up, probably going to be in Guardians 3. And I guess Captain Marvel's also there. So yeah, I'm not too sure what direction they're going to go with these new movies. They can really do whatever they want, but if they're following comics, like a little bit, like they obviously take a lot of the storylines and inspiration from comics. They don't make their own original characters. So who do I think is going to matter? I think that I think they're going to focus a little bit more on Marvel Cosmic, especially if they get the Eternals in, and if we get a Nova movie. If that's the case, I think the next big bad is going to be Annihilus. So for those who don't know who Annihilus is, he's a character from the comics who essentially during the whole superhero civil war in the comics, which everybody obviously knows about because of the movie, essentially in outer space there was a much bigger threat, and that was Annihilus, this like weird mutant bug kind of dude from the Negative Zone who got a hold of like pretty much godlike power. Well, not godlike, but pretty strong shit, and he kind of commanded this wave of like, okay, to put it simply, he's essentially the Flood from Halo. That's the simplest way to put it. He's the Flood from Halo, and he attacks superheroes. That's it. Yeah, I could definitely see him becoming the main villain. So other big bads that we might get. So obviously there's a lot of time stuff going on in this movie. And we could get Kang the Conqueror. Now, I don't really like Kang. I think he looks fucking stupid. I understand why people like him. I don't, okay? Kang looks dumb. But I don't know. He's a character. For those who don't know, Kang in the comics is essentially this dude. He's a time travel dude. That's all you need to know. He's a time travel dude. Another thing is that we might get the Celestials, but I could definitely see the Celestials coming in if that's the case, because that has a lot to do with the deep lore of Marvel and the Marvel Cosmic. The Celestials are like, I think they're the first race, like just the first aliens in Marvel, just Marvel. There are people who are like, they're essentially what Ego was, but they're giant dudes in armor and they like judge the universe and all this kind of bullshit. And they're specifically what Galactus was created to counterbalance. So they're pretty cool. I could definitely see them being a ramp up from Thanos, especially like just in terms of scale. However, there's not really one that could be the main villain. With Kang or Annihilus, yeah, those two are main villains. Kang, I don't really see as a step up from Thanos. Annihilus definitely could be. Anyways, number 4, the Beyonder. The Beyonder's a dude who's essentially like God. It's pretty crazy powers. I forget his backstory. He essentially just like, he shows up and he's just like, hey, I want to see all the superheroes fight. And then he gets all the superheroes and a bunch of supervillains to fight each other. Pretty cool stuff. I don't really like, obviously with this character, they would really just completely do whatever they want with him, and he's just like a god character they can do whatever they want with. Next is the Living Tribunal. They've mentioned the Living Tribunal before. I don't know if they want to ever introduce him, because he's essentially the hand of God, and he's not really a villain in Marvel Comics, but I could definitely see him becoming an antagonist in the MCU, just because of all the fucky time and reality stuff that everyone's doing, and him being like, hey, stop that. Because that's his whole thing, is he just like monitors the universes to make sure they're not doing any fucky stuff, you know? And obviously him being the hand of God, there is no way to top him in terms of scale or strength. He is legitimately just the most powerful. All right, so the final villain that I think could be going forward, and this is kind of a twofer for a storyline. The real topping Infinity War is topping like the scale of that is really hard. And the only way I can really see them successfully doing that is through the Secret Wars 2014, I believe. 2014 storyline. And this is like the canonical like ending of the Marvel universe, of the not just the universe, the Marvel multiverse. So yeah, essentially it involves the Beyonders, not the Beyonder, different things, kind of. And they essentially are destroying all the universes for whatever reason, and it involves Doom essentially becoming God and creating his own universe, and it's like the composite Marvel universe. That's all there is. And it's fucking crazy stuff. They like, it's so cool. Let me just explain it to you for a second. So like, the Beyonders are showing up, and they're, there's these aliens that kill the Living Tribunal. Oh my god, you killed the hand of God. How do you do that? And they're killing off these dudes called the, it doesn't really matter, this thing that grounds the universe, which then makes them crash into each other. So universes are crashing into one another, and they're just exploding, and everyone's dying. Everyone dies. It ends with the Time Runs Out event, which leads into Secret Wars, ends with the Ultimate Universe, which is like a really popular universe that started in the 2000s, like I think in 1999 actually, and went all the way up to 2014. It was very, very popular. Most of the MCU kind of like takes more from that than the actual mainline 616 universe, which is the universe that it consequently crashes into. It crashes into. So they all fight, and Reed Richards makes like this raft, and oh my god, he shows up in Battle World. It's a reference to something else. Don't worry. It's not. They didn't name it this thinking like, holy fuck, this is a cool name. Essentially with Battle World, it's Game of Thrones. It's medieval. It's Game of Thrones, but where Doom is a god. He is a god king, and all of the political leaders and everything are superheroes and supervillains, and like all the fantasy stuff is like repurposed superhero stuff. For instance, like I mean, it's really Game of Thrones. There's a fucking wall, and remember that Annihilus dude I talked about earlier? Annihilus is like the annihilation wave that Annihilus controls, and like the Marvel Zombies universe exists beyond the wall, and like the wall and the planet is like the wall is made out of the Thing, the sun is made out of the Human Torch, and like the World Tree. By the way, massive spoilers for Secret Wars in case you're ever gonna read it. And the World Tree is like the castle, like the castle that Doom had, the Palace of Doom rests on top of, is made from Groot, and it's so fucking cool. But essentially it ends with like Reed Richards and Doom, which are like the first Marvel characters, them like agreeing, and Doom kind of admitting that he's just worse than Reed Richards, and relinquishing his god complex and giving his god powers over to Reed. And yeah, that would be, in my opinion, I don't see that coming up as the next big bad. I see that as like maybe the big bad after the big bad that we have right now. So if we got Annihilus, that would definitely set up Secret Wars, and that would be really cool. And that's where I hope the MCU goes. And that's it. That's it. You finished this video. I have no idea how long this is gonna be, but I don't know. I've recorded like a half hour worth of material, so whatever. Fuck it. I'll short this down into like 5 minutes. Who knows? But if you like this review, give me the big thumbs up, subscribe, all that bullshit. I don't need to tell you this stuff. Anyways, comment down below what you think the future of the MCU is. Your thoughts on Endgame, maybe. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty universal anyway, so I'm more interested in where you guys think the future of the MCU is going to go. And with that, goodbye.